Now, it's been just over a week since Donald Trump became the president-elect of the United States. In that time, he has made several high-profile appointments, and yesterday he visited the White House.
Yes, joining us to discuss is lecturer at the School of Media in TU Dublin, Dr. Harry Browne. And live from Washington, D.C., it is David Smith, who's the Washington bureau chief of The Guardian. You're both very welcome. David, can I start with you, given we had this news overnight of the kind of final results in terms of control of the House. So, I mean, total control for Donald Trump, I guess. Is that the sense of things there?
Yes, very few guardrails or things to stop him pursuing his agenda. Republicans in control of the White House, Senate, and now the House of Representatives. And I think the other important thing to remember is this is a Republican Party more loyal to Donald Trump now than it was in his first term, starting in 2017. A lot of those dissenting voices we used to hear, such as Liz Cheney, have either resigned or been driven out of the party. Now Republicans are far more ready to do Donald Trump's bidding, and that'll be put to the test certainly by some of his proposed cabinet appointments. And it's all up against a Democratic Party that's demoralized and divided after last week's defeat.
They certainly are, of course, with the Republicans controlling both the House of Representatives, the Senate and the Congress. Harry, if we can just talk to you, as David mentioned there, he started to release some of the names of his team. If we could just get into a few of those people, because obviously we're looking at what's going on in Gaza at the minute, and there's still a huge amount of aid going to Israel. And an awful lot of people he's talking about appointing have put forward ideas that they're very much fans of Israel. Yeah. So who is Matt Gaetz? And why are we talking about him so much?
Well, Matt Gaetz is the proposal for Attorney General, which is essentially head of the Justice Department, looks after kind of domestic law enforcement questions. He's a kind of a MAGA pick. He's a bit populist. He's a bit of a civil libertarian. Some people say he's a civil libertarian because of his taste for drugs and young women. But he's somebody that I think that like the MAGA populist wing will like. But on the Israel thing...
Let's just mention that in his past there has been...
Well, there's a House Ethics Committee report was due on him this week. He's actually resigned from the House just in time to avoid having the House release that.
Yes, about his extracurricular activities.
His extracurricular activities. But now we've got this, in relation to Israel, the new proposed Secretary of Defense, in effect, the head of the Department of Defense, has a big Crusader tattoo on his chest, and is a heart and soul devotee of Israel. He says, if you want to fight for Western civilization, which he very much does, then you have to also fight for Israel.
And Mike Huckabee as well is the kind of proposed US ambassador to Israel.
Yeah, Mike Huckabee.
Remind us of some of the things he said about Israel.
Mike Huckabee is an American politician going back generations. A Republican presidential candidate in his day. Ran for the nomination and was in fact a kind of evangelical preacher as well. So he's in this category of the American far-right Christian evangelicals who are huge supporters of Israel, partly because they think the end of the world is coming and that's the place for it.
Yes, and he also calls it Judea and Samaria, doesn't acknowledge that there is such thing as the West Bank or Gaza.
Or Palestinians.
Or Palestinians. He says there's no such thing as Palestinians, which is quite worrying for the Palestinians who are there. David, these are all these names are coming out, and people globally are kind of going, okay, what does that mean? But at home, can we talk to you about DOPE, the Department of Efficiency, and Elon Musk? What's going on here, and how have people reacted to it?
Yeah, well, I think the emergence of Elon Musk is one of the big stories about Trump 2.0. He, of course, is the world's richest man, owns Tesla, SpaceX, and so on. He threw himself into this presidential election campaign with a super political action committee that seems to have spent about $200 million to help Trump get elected, especially in the crucial state of Pennsylvania. And since Election Day, he's been hanging around a lot at Trump's club in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. Some reports suggesting he's maybe overstaying his welcome, and some of the Trump staff are getting a bit sick of him. And he has been appointed by Trump to a commission to investigate government overspend and try and reduce the size of the federal government. And he's appointed there alongside Vivek Ramaswamy, a biotech entrepreneur who was a Republican presidential candidate this time around. I think there's relief in some quarters that this commission will not actually have official powers. It's basically advisory. Perhaps it's a way to give Musk something to do. But he's talking that potentially he could save like $2 trillion in the federal government. And if even part of those plans were implemented, I think a lot of feathers would be ruffled, a lot of jobs would be lost. And there are many who really wonder about what influence Elon Musk is going to have on this government, and immense conflicts of interest, because, of course, his companies stand to benefit from massive deregulation.
Dodge, yeah, sorry, not dope. It's Dodge.
Dodge.
Yeah.
It's a department that doesn't exist really, though. I mean, this is all that.
This is a fake job, and
yeah,
you
it's
put
a
two
fake
of them
job.
in it as well. So like unnecessary duplication in a fake job.
But as David just mentioned there, David, you just mentioned that it's looked like jobs for the boys, and that they could monetarily benefit from all of this. And the Guardian have made a decision yesterday. You're leaving Twitter.
Yes, certainly our official accounts are no longer tweeting, and I think that's partly a reflection of what Twitter, or as it's now called X, has become under Elon Musk's ownership. He similarly reduced staff and regulation there, and there's now lots of right-wing content, lots of lies, rumours, disinformation flooding X. Also, for the Guardian's point of view, from a pragmatic point of view, it wasn't actually driving that much traffic to our website anymore, certainly compared to other mechanisms. Yeah. We have therefore joined the mass exodus from X before it completely seems to turn into an arm of state media, if you like.
Very interesting.
Harry, this meeting yesterday that happened between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, so the reverse didn't happen 4 years ago. It did happen yesterday. I mean, was there anything substantive in that meeting?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I mean, the thing is that probably there's a little bit of gossip about
some fire.
Joe Biden.
Sorry, I know that's a kind of tangential point, but look at it.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that is some fire. You're right.
Exactly.
Like it is.
You can't take your eyes off it.
I know, when you're talking when climate change is going on in
very, very hot in there with those big suits on them as well. But I mean, Biden, I think, has kind of got what he wants out of this. He's doing the proper transfer of power, so he gets to play the big man on that. And also, frankly, forever there's going to be a Biden might have won narrative about that election. I think that's fairly ridiculous, but he seems in great form at the moment.
But for everything being so combative and people waking up anxious every morning, it was very cordial.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And it just seemed to kind of be calm.
Yeah, look, I mean,
they talked for 2
Biden
hours.
hasn't been a very good president. My great mentor in journalism, Alex Coburn, used to say that the best American presidents, given how much that damage they can do, the best ones are the most ineffective ones. That all we can hope for is kind of chaos, and they don't really get much done. And I think Donald Trump might live up to that.
That's very interesting, David. Just as you are in Washington, D.C. and everything's happening, you're smiling there at the words chaos. Do we feel that this is going to be a smooth transition as we get towards January, when Donald Trump does indeed become president?
Those are the words used by Trump in that fireside chat. And as you can imagine, comedians have seized on those flames licking higher as some kind of metaphor for the future of the country. I did find it striking that, just over a week ago, Joe Biden was talking about Donald Trump as a fascist who was ready to destroy democracy, and now he has to play nice as a symbol of the peaceful transfer of power. I think some of the logistics will be smooth in that the Biden people will be professional. They'll want to set an example. They'll want to hand over to the Trump team as smoothly as possible. But on the other hand, as your other guest says, chaos is also always a factor here. I think in the first term of Trump, chaos often saved us from Donald Trump's worst intentions. And some of these cabinet picks, Pete Hegseth at Defense and Tulsi Gabbard at Intelligence, the kind of reaction we're seeing to that already, I think chaos could reign again. So much depends on Donald Trump's mercurial nature, following his impulses, Republicans' willingness to abide by that, messages on Truth Social or Twitter or wherever. I think it will not be smooth in terms of we're already getting blitzed by drama and intrigue and how on earth did he pick that person? And it's a jolting reminder of the first 4 years, and we could be back to more of the same this time.
All right. Well, listen, David, thank you very much for your time. David Smith from The Guardian in Washington, D.C. Dr. Harry Browne from TU Dublin. Harry, thank you as well.
Yeah, we'll be hearing more about those names and people throughout the time, of course.